The next geometry topic comes from Chapter 4, Section 8, so 4.8, area of a triangle and volume of a rectangular prism. So the formula for area of a triangle comes in two formats. Sometimes you'll see A equals BH divided by 2. B stands for base and H stands for height, so base times height divided by 2. I think the one on your formula sheet looks like this. Area equals 1/2 base times height. These are actually the same thing. It's just a matter of how they're written. Sometimes it's easier to think about it like this. Sometimes it's easier to think about it like that. But I believe the one on your formula sheet looks like this. There are three types of triangles we're going to work with. The first triangle is called an acute triangle. Acute is a type of angle, and we're not going to get too far into angles, but the angles are the little corners. In an acute triangle, all three angles are less than 90 degrees. Not that you need to know that part, but that's why it's called an acute triangle. We also have what's called a right triangle. You might be familiar with this, where one of the angles is exactly 90 degrees, so it's a nice sharp corner like that. And we also have what's called an obtuse triangle, and that's where one of the angles is really big, greater than 90 degrees. So you're going to see all these types of triangles throughout your homework. And the base for all three is pretty straightforward. The base is always the bottom. So here's the base, the flat part. The base is the flat line. And here's again the base of the triangle. So the base is not too hard. Base is like the bottom, the flat part of the triangle. The height is a little bit different for each triangle. The height on an acute triangle is from the highest point straight down. So it goes right in the middle of the triangle. This is the height of an acute triangle, from the highest point straight down. On a right triangle, it's actually the side from the highest point straight down. So the height is actually the side of the triangle. On an obtuse one, it's really weird. If we find the highest point on the triangle and go straight down, it's actually outside of the triangle itself. So it's a little different for an obtuse triangle, but that distance is the height. Again, from the highest point straight down. So let's look at some examples of how to calculate the area of a triangle. And it helps to label the base and the height with the same two colors if you have different colored pens or pencils. So here's the base of the triangle in example 1, and the height of the triangle in example 1. So 6 is the length of the base, and 3 is the height of the triangle. So we're going to do area equals 1/2 base times height. So 1/2 times 6, I'm going to put that 6 over 1, times 3, and I'm also going to put the 3 over 1. So 6 is the base, 3 is the height. So 1/2 times the base times the height. Now remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you multiply the tops. 1 times 6 times 3, which gives you 18, over 2 times 1 times 1, which gives you 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. And again, for area, we have the square on the units. So it's 9 square meters. Base times height times 1/2. Alright, let's try the next one. Base is along the bottom, so 12. Height is the vertical distance from the highest point straight down, so 5. area equals 1/2 base times height. So that's 1/2 times, I'm going to put the 12 over 1 times 5 over 1. So because this is the formula you're going to have to work with, this is how I suggest you set up your problem. So this is going to be all the tops. 1 times 12 is still 12 times 5. 12 times 5 is 60. Over 2 times 1 times 1, which is 2. 60 over 2 is 30 centimeters squared, so square centimeters. Again, when you have area, you always have a little squared on the unit. It doesn't change your answer, it doesn't affect your answer at all. You just put a little 2 on the units. Alright, let's look at example 3. If you're feeling comfortable, you can try example 3 on your own. If not, you can watch me. Use consistent colors, so the same color every time for the base, which is here, which is 7. Remember, on this triangle, the height is outside, outside of the triangle from the highest point straight down, which is 5. And again, area equals 1/2 base times height. So area equals 1/2 times 7 over 1 times 5 over 1. 1 times 7 times 5 is 35. 2 times 1 times 1 is 2. 35 over 2 does not divide. We can turn that into a decimal if we'd like. I think it's 17.5 square feet. We can also turn it into a mixed number, 17 1/2 square feet. Not sure which way the computer wants the answer. The decimal for me makes the most sense. 17 1/2 square feet. Alright, let's try the next 3 examples. These are going to be a little bit trickier because they've got mixed numbers involved, but we've learned how to work with mixed numbers, so we can handle this. Space these out. So example 4, again consistent with the colors. The bottom is the base, so 6. The vertical distance from the highest point straight down is the height. Now the height is a mixed number, and it's really hard to work with mixed numbers, so the best thing to do before we start with 5 1/3 is to turn it into an improper fraction. It's much easier to work with. Remember, we do the bottom times the number. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So it's easier if you turn that into a mixed number, an improper fraction right away, and then it's much easier to work with. Area equals 1/2 base times height. So area equals 1/2 times 6 over 1 times 16 over 3. So 1 times 6 is still 6. 16 times 6, I'm going to work that out real fast. I believe it's 96, yeah. So it's 96 over 2 times 1 times 3 is 6. And that does divide nicely. 96 divided by 6. If you notice here in my scratch work, we multiplied these to get 96. So 96 divided by 6 will give us 16. If not, you can just divide that out. And it's yards squared. So the area is 16 square yards. It's a little bit longer to work with the mixed numbers, but it's just one conversion, and then you still work it out. Top times top times top, bottom times bottom times bottom. See if it divides. If it doesn't divide, you can turn it into a decimal or a mixed number again. Alright, example 5. We have the base, 9 1/2, times the height, which is 7. When you have a mixed number, again, change it to an improper fraction right away. So 9 1/2 You do 9 times 2, which is 18, plus 1 is 19 over 2. We're just going to leave it as an improper fraction. So area equals 1/2 base times height. 1/2 times the base, 19 over 2, times the height, 7 over 1. And I'm going to have to work out 19 times 7 here. 63. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 6 is 13. So it's 133 on top, and 2 times 2 times 1 is 4. And I'm going to divide 133 by 4. 4 goes into 13 3 times with 1 left over. Four goes into 10 twice with 2 left over. 4 goes into 25 times. So I just divided that out and turned it into a decimal. And so that's going to be 33.25, and the units are square feet. Ran myself out of room there. You could also turn it into a mixed number, 33 1/4 square feet. I don't think MyMathLab wants the improper fraction. You can either turn it into a decimal or back into a mixed number. So the other option for the answer is 33 1/4 square feet. My guess is because there was mixed numbers in the problem, the computer's going to want mixed numbers in the answer. So it might be a little bit of extra work to get the numbers back into the form they started in. Alright, if you're feeling confident, you can try this last one. If not, you can watch me. We have the base, 7 3/4. Remember, the height is the vertical straight up and down height. So from the highest point, straight down. So that's 5 1/4. Now both of these are mixed numbers, so we're going to have to convert both of them to improper fractions. So 5 1/4 is 21 over 4. 7 3/4 is 31 over 4. So you multiply the denominator by the whole number and then add the numerator. So area equals 1/2 base times height. It's 1/2 times the base, 31 over 4, times the height, 21 over 4. 31 times 21, I'm going to work that up here so it doesn't get in the way. I got 651 for the numerator. 2 times 4 is 8, times 4 again is 32. Ooh, those are big numbers. So now we're going to have to figure out how many times 32 goes into 651. And so you might want to get some scratch paper for this part. If we have 32 into 651, 32 goes into 65 twice, which is 64. That leaves 1 left over. Goes into 11 0 times. 32 goes into 110, I'm going to guess 3 times. That'll be 96. And it will tell you how to round or when to stop. 110 minus 96 is 14. 32 goes into 140. I'm going to guess 4 times. Oops, 128. So I'm not sure how much longer you'll have to continue the decimal. Let's see, this is 4 times. You might be able to leave it as an improper fraction or a mixed number. So it definitely goes in 20 times. 32 times 20 is 640. So that leaves 11 over 32. So you don't need to bother with all the decimal dividing. Just figure out how many times it goes in, how many whole times it goes in, and then whatever's left is your fraction part of your mixed number. So I'm sorry about going through all the decimal part. You don't need to do that. Just figure out how many times it goes in evenly, and then whatever the remainder is, because these were mixed numbers, so we're going to leave our answer as a mixed number, and it will be square inches. Alright, so area of a triangle can get a little sticky with the numbers, only because they like to put mixed numbers as your dimensions, which makes for messier answers. But the concept of multiplying base times height times 1/2 is a pretty straightforward process. Alright, and the other topic in this section that's related to geometry is volume of a rectangular prism. And this one's really easy. The formula is very straightforward, length times width times height. And it doesn't matter which one you call the length, the width, or the height. It really doesn't matter because we're just multiplying them all together. So it's just 8 times 4 times 3. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 times 3 is 96. So the volume is 96. Now because we have 3 dimensions here, this is a 3-dimensional figure, it's going to be the units to the 3rd power. So volume is 3-dimensional. 1, 2, 3. So our answer is to the 3rd power. Alright, and the second one's just as easy. Volume equals length times width times height, and it doesn't matter which one is which. 7 times 3 is 21 times 2, so volume is 42, and it's cubic feet, so that's pronounced cubic feet. It's to the 3rd power again because we're multiplying 3 dimensions together, so it's cubic feet. Alright, so area of a triangle, you just have to work with the numbers you're given. And then volume of a rectangular prism is pretty easy. It's just a 3-dimensional box, and you just multiply the 3 dimensions together. And that is it for section 4.8.